Dark Souls, a game loved by many. It has iconic bosses, levels, and is a part of pop culture in its own way. Of course, like any other big game, Dark Souls has its fair share of jank. Things like the orange charred ring, which in hindsight could have been done a lot better. But the most devious of these is hidden in plain sight. Dark Souls Remastered is capped at 60 FPS, 30 if you're playing the Prepare to Die edition. Why is that? The reason would be a long and convoluted video about bad development practices, but long story short, its reason is because your game speed is tied to the frame rate of your game. So, if you were to increase your frame rate, it'd make your game faster. But by decreasing your frame rate to say 20, we're able to play at about 30% speed. This is insanely painful, to say the least. But this will be the main challenge for the run that we're about to embark on. Spawning in the Undead Asylum, the first cutscene is extremely slow. Even the pickup animation after feels painfully slow. The long hallways, the ladder climbing, opening doors, I just can't help but feel like quitting already. And we're not even at our first boss. The Asylum Demon is pretty okay, speaking of. Since we started with the black fire bombs, we're able to quick kill the Asylum Demon. Well, quick. We then take a nice stroll through the rest of the Asylum, grabbing our shield and the bandit's knife before opening the door. And now, we're on our way to Firelink, where I should mention, the audio is normal speed, which means some cutscenes are interesting at best. Now that the world is finally open to us, we level strength a bit, and decide we're not high enough level. There is a solution to this though, but you might not like it. We can really easily parry the Crestfallen Warrior here. He drops a lot of souls for this point in the game, and since we're playing at 30% speed, we have ample time to parry. For the record, I don't like doing this either, but not because we kill Mr. Bullcut. I actually kinda hate him. I just don't like this because of how painfully slow this is. Especially the excruciating animation of just pulling the knife out. Like, how stuck in there is it? Is it caught in between the chainmail? Then, after climbing up to the aqueduct, the true nature of our path is revealed. This isn't just a sewer. This is the endless staircase from Super Mario. Once we finally get into the Burg, methodically taking out the enemies is a pretty easy goal for us. Most enemies only take around 3 hits to proc bleed on, which at this stage in the game kills pretty much anything we could encounter. We also grab every single soul item we can find in the Burg just so we can min-max our character that much more. The Undead Merchant is no exception to our min-maxing. All of his important items drop on death. Speaking of his death, it was totally natural, and he just dies of old age while we're standing here. Yep, nothing to see here. We continue onwards, and run into the Black Knight, guarding one of my favorite rings design-wise. And 3 slow parries takes us to the end of his life, which actually, amazingly, we get the Black Knight sword. Which I was hoping for, since it can make this run infinitely easier once we can wield it. It does an insane amount of damage, and it's upgraded with Twinkling Titanite, a material which can be bought not too far into the game. For now, we open the basement door, and we have to run down, 3 floors to Havel, and chain backstab after chain backstab. We get rewarded with 3,000 souls and Havel's Ring, which will be nice for keeping our fast roll as we gain heavier equipment. Now to our first real boss. The Taurus Demon is usually the first real challenge on any Souls run. For us, it's just a time waster. Trying to trigger the boss takes a couple tries, since as soon as he spawns, we want to flip around and run the way we came. Wow, that guy is ripped. Then we start climbing the slowest ladder in existence, and once we make it up, we're able to plunge the demon for a huge chunk of damage. The fight from there is pretty easy. We can do a decent amount of damage per bleed proc, which leads to our victory. Then the Drake on the bridge is up, and that means, you guessed it, more waiting. This time is for the Drake to drop, and the subsequent running under it. It's kinda the easiest thing in the world, so we make it to the altar bonfire, and after leveling our stats some more, we now have the stats to both wield the Black Knight sword and fast roll if we take some of our lighter armor off. Now, unto the Undead Parish. Going up to another Black Knight, our parry damage clearly demonstrates the difference in weapons we've been using, even though we get the two-handed riposte damage boost. We then take the most methodical route we can through the parish for a little, until we notice that Hollow is going to close the gate, and man, I do not want to go through the long way around. So after the world's slowest chase sequence, we put a stop to that, right away. We pick up the basement key here, and make our way into the chapel, in which everything goes down to a couple swings, and we go to the gargoyles without even resting at a bonfire. And can I just say, for being at 30% speed, this gargoyle kill is fast. I guess it's literally slow, with the longest R2 anyone has ever seen, but we kill the gargoyles and ring our first bell. I'm surprised we made it this far. This run is so boring. I honestly expected to be giving up by now. Then we go back to Firelink and upgrade our flask. And wow, we've had the +0 flask for so long. The +1 flask just feels so nice. Wait, I've only been recording for an hour? Man, this run is taking so much out of me. Needless to say though, after experiencing the +1 flask, it's so nice to actually heal from Estus, instead of just not. We also knock a Lautrec off, and grab the Ring of Favor and Protection. Well, after a long run back to the Drake Bridge, starting with the elevator, our plan is to run through the lower Undead Burg and the depths, then bone out and head to Blighttown from New Londo. Why am I still on the damn elevator? After running back through the Boar Arena, we're back on the other side of the Drake Bridge, and we open the door to the lower Undead Burg. I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but this area is just as slow as the others. To illustrate my point, let's look at the map of the Undead Burg and lower Undead Burg. Here, we run all the way through the Burg, then after we come back from the parish, we run across the bridge, and we climb down to the lower Undead Burg. We then run further back to the Capra Demon, which means we basically just run back and forth in a straight line when we traverse this area. Now, imagine this in real time. Not too bad, right? Sure, it's a little slow, but still okay overall. It's not like you'd notice it while fighting enemies and trying to kill bosses, right? Then imagine it even slower, at our current speed. Now is when it starts to get bad, and that's just one example of the pain I'm going through. Sometimes we die anyway, and that's for a multitude of reasons. What, you want to hear them? Then what am I going to talk about later, dummy? The Capra Demon is up after quite a while, and this fight is actually pretty easy if you know what you're doing. Usually, this small arena has you fight one Capra Demon and 2 dogs. But if you're smart about it, and stay up front while you dispatch the first dog, the second one will actually just fail to draw aggro, which means you're already down to just the boss. No dodging past everything hoping you live, no 3v1, and the fight actually ends up being pretty easy, even while trying to stay close to the entrance. After about 45 seconds, we stagger the boss and kill him for an easy first try. We go back and rest at Firelink one more time, and head into the depths, ready to optimize our routing because man, I have to wait so long to do anything. There's a jump early in the depths where we plunge the butcher, and we grab the large ember from this chest soon after. Oh shit, the sack! We drop and kill the rat, and run into the sewer using our slow game speed to easily outspace the caster and large rats at the same time. This game is kinda turning into a real-time strategy instead of a Souls-like. Once they're dead, we slide down to the dragon, wait no, this is the wrong side, god, and we're into the Gaping Dragon's arena. Which, with the Black Knight sword, it's more than easy enough to swing far from the body to ensure a tail hit that actually damages the tail. And on top of that, we do decent damage when we're able to hit the head, since it has a damage multiplier. We get the tail cut sooner than we expect, and the rest of the fight is pretty simple slashing until the dragon dies. As the fight comes to a close, we homeward bone, which takes us back to Firelink because in case you didn't notice, we didn't rest at any bonfires down here, so now in Firelink, we get ready to move to Blighttown from New Londo. And Blighttown is the worst area yet, with many ladders. And once most of them are over with, it's just killing blow dart snipers. And actually, there's still more ladders! Then we drop to get the Firekeeper Soul, climb back up top, get knocked off, climb back up again to kill the last guy, and oh, he's down there now, better drop back down again. Then it's more waiting while the slowest elevator yet slowly drops us down to the swamp of Blighttown. The swamp poisons us, and reduces our movement to practically nothing, wasting more of our time. Once we make it to the other side of the swamp, we use the purple moss we got from the Bloatar enemies to cure our poison and heal before we enter Quelaag's domain. Quelaag is tanky, one of the tankiest bosses in the game, and you can guess what that does to my sanity. On top of coating the arena in lava, she tends to jump to avoid some of our heavier attacks, which again, just makes the fight take longer. We do just under a decent chunk of health per hit, so when we land bigger attacks, or lots of small ones, the fight goes our way pretty quick, pretty slowly. Then, the second bell is rung by me to open Sen's Fortress. We bone out to Firelink, and we dispatch the rest of the way of White here with relative ease, which allows us to head back to the Asylum. And wait. This takes forever normally. This is so fuck. The return trip to the Asylum is one in which we're only here for a couple things. First of which is, the Stray Demon is just as slow as us, and while we're in melee range, its moveset is limited, to say the very least, which leads to a very possible fight. Just a boring one at that. Then we grab the Titanite slab from the boss, and climb this ladder to get the Peculiar Doll. Then we homeward bone back to Firelink, and wait on this elevator. Again. Why did this elevator take so long? Now's when I want to ask all of you to check if you're subscribed. Lots of the people who watch my videos actually think they're subscribed, when in actuality they aren't. And that's one of the biggest ways to help the channel, other than just watching them to the end. I'm really trying to hit 10,000 subscribers soon, and I have big plans for when we get there. There's also a Discord server I have in case you want to join our monthly challenges and community. Right now we're doing shields only, in a Souls game of your choice. Be sure to join for rules and specifics. Until we get to the Parish, at which point we head to Sen's. The slowness of us and the obstacles is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because we have lots of time to optimize our movement and decide what to do when we're in a bit of a bad situation. It's a curse because I hate how much time I have to put into this, from pushing levers to fog gates. It's just waiting over and over. And when we fall, it's like a million years to get back there. And when we die to the golem, we didn't even rest at the Sen's bonfire in order to save time. But the golem is still easy. We can knock it down, and when we're not waiting for our stamina to recover, we can do quite a bit of damage. And the boss goes down. Once we make it to Anor Londo, we continue to save our souls for something in a bit. We continue through to the rafters, which are easy, even though they're slow as hell, and we move to the bottom of them, which I guess I couldn't also call down here the rafters. What is this? The room? Whatever. We enter the Painted World after this. And what is the point of this area again? Some hollows, a skip to get to the end. It's really easy, and we're only doing it for the souls. Huh, I never watched this cutscene. Is there anything interesting about it? The sound effect, dude, no. Eventually, we make it to the giant blacksmith, which is what we've been saving our souls for. We buy out a Twinkling Titanite, and upgrade our sword to, oh, I forget Dark Souls 1 is stupid like this. We bought too much Twinkling Titanite, and got the slab for nothing. Well, at least we got a max weapon. And trying it out, yeah, that's good damage, especially since we've hardly upgraded our strength. We also grab Havel's armor, in case we ever have to take his ring off. We enter Ornstein and Smough's cutscene, and wow, half of this cutscene is just literally silent. This is really weird. And while the fight's pretty easy, since we do so much damage to Ornstein, we go into Phase 2 hurt, and also with another half silent, half ear-piercing loud cutscene. And Phase 2 is just as easy, which gives us the Lord Vessel, finally. We teleport back to the Daughter of Chaos, who's mysteriously dead. And hey, I'll grab the Firekeeper Soul, I don't mind. We change our armor up a bit here, which gives us some poise, and I'll take any of that at this point. Staggering is so slow. And I think the trade-off of mid-rolling is worth it considering we have 3/4 of Havel set on. Either way, we lead the discharge over to where he's vulnerable, and convince him the benefits of lowering the damn lava level. And he does. Once we make it to another bonfire, we realize how good scaling can really be in this game. Because when we level strength twice, we get a whole 10 damage. 10! That's double well, what the Demon Fire Sage lacks in originality, it makes up for in the dread I feel when I remember its health, which reminds me of another saying. What the Demon Fire Sage lacks in difficulty, it makes up for it in arena jank. And it lacks life after I'm done with it too. The Centipede Demon just gets shredded by our +5 weapon, which means we get our orange charred ring, and fat roll through the Lost Izalith, which isn't actually too hard. We slowly run to the bed, and with lots of downtime between doing anything, it's easy to just win. Then it's time to take on Darkroot Basin, where we meet the Hydra. Since we have a maxed out weapon, the Hydra is actually a decently easy mini-boss, not even requiring us to cut all his heads for it to die. We then go Mildred mode, and quit out at the other end of this lake to free Dusk. It's a long journey to Sif from here, but that remains our next boss. We climb 2 really long ladders, and make the trek over there. Sif isn't the tankiest thing in the world, which is why she turns out to be one of the easiest bosses in the whole run, as we limp to the finish line by killing her. Now, we're actually going to make our way to the catacombs, which might seem like an odd choice at first, but trust me, it'll make sense eventually. We're really high leveled for this area, especially with a max weapon, so we one-shot everything, and with our pretty high humanity count, we actually find a Skull Lantern early, which means we can kill Patches. But now, we're here for the main thing we want, the Dark Moon Seance Ring. This will be useful later, but for now we drop to Vamos, and enter Pinwheel's coffin, which ironically will actually be his coffin, so there's that. And we get the Mask of the Child, a blessing that we don't need, I just wanted. We enter the Tomb of the Giants prepared, and with a bit of sliding, some skillful dodging and dropping, this area doesn't turn out to be much of a challenge, especially since we already have the Skull Lantern. Then we enter Nito's domain. Wait, why didn't they name this area that? That's such a good name! Well, the skeletons are much less annoying when they don't instantly stun you just by the way they approach. And Nito himself, just wow, he does not have the skills to tank this sword for some reason. He does pretty decent damage back, and even hits us with Toxic, but in the end, we can just out-heal it easy with a +3 flask. So Nito goes down, and we head back to Anor Londo to kill the Lady of the Dark Moon for yet another Firekeeper soul. We then move the elevator down, and go fight Gwyndolin. Gwyndolin takes forever on a normal run, so we go Mildred mode again, in order to make it to him quicker. While this is riskier, I think it's overall better because, well, we end up first trying him with 2 combos, one dealing over 1,000 damage. We're back in Firelink again, and this time for a +4 flask, before quickly heading back to Anor Londo into the Grand Archives. The boars are pretty easy to outspace, them being variations on early game enemies, which are kind of what the Crystal Soldiers are here too, just hollow soldiers with a bit more damage and health, so even though everything dies in one hit, we almost don't make it, just because I was rushing. Then we equip the Ring of Sacrifice into Seath because I am not losing my 9 humanity. But other than that, we kill everyone in the prison, ladder shenanigans I guess, and spend the night running to Seath, who even with some clams just can't manage a threatening battle. Seriously, we just out-heal him, and since we have Havels, Curse is just not relevant, and we kill Seath easy. With one more Lord Soul to grab, we enter what's supposed to be the hardest area, and it's right under Firelink. Who would have thought? We jump for joy to grab the Transient Curses, and also the Firekeeper Soul, which we can just barely squeeze around the ghosts to get. The ladder climb is tighter than usual, but killing Ingward lets us drain New Londo, and the 4 kings become dust once we Havel tank them, since we're close enough to just not take any damage, and they cease to be an issue. Cleaning up now, we take on the Moonlight Butterfly. Oh! It floats down! We one-cycle it, and head into the DLC. We enter the Sanctuary Garden, and take on the Sanctuary Guardian. The Sanctuary Guardian is in the Sanctuary Garden, and he guards the garden. The Guardian is interesting, mostly due to how much he moves around, but he can get staggered and tail cut for another stun, leading him to be pretty useless at guarding the sanctuary that is the Sanctuary Garden. We kindle the bonfire immediately after the Sanctuary Guardian to 20, and make the long, God damn, I'm tired of saying it long. Journey to Artorias. This is one of our last cutscenes of the run, and just the awkwardness of Artorias staring at us in complete silence is really funny to me. Artorias is also one of the most annoying bosses we've killed on this run. Artorias is already a pretty slow, bait and punish kind of boss, but waiting 3 times as long just demoralizes us. We do a decent chunk of health per hit, but so does he, and the timings for rolling are pretty deceptive when he has the charge-ups of an Elden Ring boss. A little secret about this run is that we've kind of built this build around not having to wait for anything, and let's just say that barely works out for us here, killing Artorias. The side effects of kindling our Estus to 20 when we clearly didn't need to in Ulusil Township are that Chester invades us, and though he's not an issue, it's still a time waster. The Abyss is similarly time wasting. Manus is also just boring. He can't do enough damage to kill us, and his combos are excruciatingly time wasting. Once he's down, we travel back to the present and head to the Firelink altar. We put our souls into the Lord Vessel and equip some lighter but still good armor for the route to Gwyn. It's slow, yeah, but we're used to slow. Step after step, we're closer to Gwyn. We enter the gate, and the easiest, yet longest fight begins. Every parry does less damage than we hope for, and when people say Gwyn is super easy, they usually mean he's easy when you know how to parry him. Once you riposte Gwyn, if you chug an Estus, Gwyn usually does one of 2 attacks. Either a fast slash which hits us, or a slow slash which we can easily parry. The fast slash seems like an issue at first, but he just instantly does another, slower slash in the other direction, letting us parry him either way. And since we just heal after anyway, the 3-minute Gwyn fight is actually pretty easy. As for our ending, I don't even want to stay in this place, man, just light me up.